Welcome to the Habit Builder. Quick video together for you to help you get the most out of the exercise you're about to do. If you're wondering what the hell this thing is, it is a combination of my qualifications in exercise and health science and my experience in the industry in helping people to develop good, healthy habits, on top of, and mostly, leaning on the work of some serious thought leaders in this habit development space. Namely, you might have heard of a few of these guys before: Charles Duhigg, the author of The Power of Habit; Shawn Achor wrote The Happiness Advantage; Jeff Olson wrote probably my favourite book of all time, The Slight Edge; Dr. Jordan Peterson's a Canadian clinical psychologist who's huge on individual development; and Mel Robbins, who coined the 5-second rule, gun, lawyer, public speaker over in America. So I've kind of amalgamated the best of their messages and key kind of takeaways from the resources they've put together, and developed it into a bit of a framework for you to complete and work out what current health habits you have that are working for you, work out which ones you're not doing, and then of the gap between those two, work out which ones to go to work on, so that you can get moving towards your goal in an effective and fast manner. So that's the end game. That's what we're looking for: 2 to 3 key behaviours that you can bring into your day that allow you to get to your goal as quickly as you can. Before I expect you to jump in and get started, it's important to focus on why an exercise like this is worthwhile. In my experience, going through a bit of a stock take of your current health habits allows you to make sure you're picking the lowest hanging fruit. You're not going for the expensive, time-consuming new behaviours that are going to yield a really small result. You're choosing to bring things into your life that are as simple and small and easy to bring in as possible, that give you the biggest possible result. So picking the low-hanging fruit is a really big benefit of an exercise like this. Second big benefit is if you're smart, you choose keystone habits, what's called a keystone habit, and that is a keystone. If you've heard of the phrase before, it's referring to what stonemasons put together when they build an archway, and the keystone is the stone at the top that helps to keep the rest of the archway up. If you plonk that in, the whole archway stays. If you take it out, the whole archway collapses in on itself. An example in the context of habits is exercising. I've got a friend of mine who started a gym up, a very, very stressful time, small business owner, a lot of things to do, a lot of hours to put in. I remember him saying once that as long as he kept exercising, it'd give him the energy, the focus, the mental clarity to continue to do what he needed to do to get the gym up and running. And so that keystone habit of exercise allowed him to be effective with his career, make sure he kept up his relationships as best he could. Would have had an impact on his sleep quality, on his nutritional choices as well. So the habit has a bit of a ripple effect and flows onto other things as well. So all of the habits that are listed in the questionnaire are examples of keystone habits that flow on to affect others as well. So you're not just limited to one specific benefit, it spreads, which is what you want. Third reason it's worthwhile going through this is if you do the math, the best way to think about habits is not as though you're adding something to your life. It's as though habit building is your life. A great example of this one is if you hone in on, for example, the 15 minutes before bedtime, that pre-sleep routine that you have. It might be a mess at the moment. It might be costing you sleep quality and time, and therefore meaning that you're lower energy the next day and your output's lower, all that kind of stuff. And if you master that 15 minutes before bed, 15 minutes in a day, say you're awake for 15 hours of the day, wake up at 7, go to bed at 10, that's 900 minutes. 15 minutes into 900 minutes is only 1.5%, which doesn't sound like much unless you play a team sport, then you know how important 1%ers are. But if you actually look at that across a year, if you imagine 15 minutes per day across 6 days, across 365 days in the year, you're going to get 4,680, maths was never a strong point, which is 78 hours, which is 2 working weeks. If you can master 2 working weeks worth of a daily habit in a year, it's going to have huge flow-on effects and really can improve the quality of your life and what you're capable of in terms of your output, and as I mentioned earlier, the progress towards your goal. So I think the arithmetic's interesting. Habits aren't to be added to your life, they are your life. And you're either nailing that kind of habit or you're not. Fourth reason, I think the guy Jerzy Gregorek, he was in a podcast with Tim Ferriss, and he once said that he was asked to sum up his kind of life philosophy and his approach to habit setting. He said, easy habits, hard life; hard habits, easy life. And I think that really really sums up just how black and white it is. It's not easy to build a new habit, to bring it in, and that's why we only do 2 or 3 at once. But if and when you do, it really has a compounding effect to make your achieving your goals later on more straightforward. The ripple effect that I mentioned earlier to start to spiral you set up an upward spiral and other components and categories of your life too. So they're the big 4. Low hanging fruit, keystone. It really is your life if you do the arithmetic and make a couple of smart, difficult daily choices and set yourself up for a good time in the medium long term. So purpose, as I said, 2 or 3 really high yield habits, minimal input, maximum result is what we want to get. You want you to get out of this, relevant to your goals, your own choice. You can pick which ones you go with. But I guess a couple of important things to note is that I've put a source next to each of these. I don't expect you just to take it on face value that they're all true, unless they're completely self-evident. I've included a scientific reference paper for you to check out if you're interested and want to dig a bit further into why and how each of these habits is relevant to the big 4 categories of exercise, nutrition, sleep, and mindset. So that's the first one. Read the science if you're interested. It's just in the left-hand column under a hyperlink called source. And when you're going through the questionnaire, last hot tip is answer each of the habits based on whether you do it for 6 days per week on average over the past 6 weeks. So if you have a goal, for example, a habit that you're answering and it's drinking 2 litres of water per day, if you only just started doing that 6 days per week over the past 2 weeks, then don't tick it, because it has to be on average over the past 6 weeks. An example of one of mine is I have been working on my sleep routine lately, my 15 minutes leading in. Past 3 weeks, that's been a real focus of mine, and 6 days per week I've been doing it regularly. But because it hasn't been for 6 full weeks, I haven't ticked that one yet, because that habit's still forming. It takes between 21 and 242 days to develop a new habit. So that one's still well and truly in the incubator for me. We want to give ourselves enough time to automate it before we add in new things. So we let them stick. So that's the purpose, the why, the reason it's worthwhile going through this habit setup, and a couple of important things to note in the science and in the way that you answer the questionnaire. Hope it's of some use. Good luck tackling the exercise. I've included a couple more videos in there to help guide you through. If you have any questions, hit me up as always. Chat soon.